Well, good evening, everybody. This is the Dog H. Weber with a special edition of Weber on Sports. We're coming live from FingerLakes1.com, located on Fall Street here in Seneca Falls. It's our first show of 2013, and we have a special guest. Kenny's Two Pennies will be joining us in a few minutes. After I run through a couple of headlines with a few comments, Kenny will be giving his views on the recent news, which, of course, is the big news. Doug Marrone, who I have been hammering the last couple of years, his coaching inabilities, but I've had to eat crow because Marrone has brought the Orangemen after 4 years to 2 Pinstripe Bowl games. By the way, those were both victories. But Dougie Marrone is going to boogie to Buffalo. The deal has not been signed exactly to the paper at this point, but it looks like it should be cemented by later tonight. But the big shocking news over the weekend, if you just came back from Russia, or from God only knows New Zealand, Doug Marrone will be hired to lead the Bills. And, of course, the Bills need a lot of help, but Marrone, of course, is the guy, and we'll get into that in a couple of seconds. But as I look at that opportunity, you have to wonder, ladies and gentlemen, the Bills management, of course, the new big man in town, even though he's short, Russ Brandon, the new CEO, Mr. Wilson, a 94-year-old owner of the franchise, the storied franchise, the Buffalo, gave complete authority to Russ Brandon. Well, Brandon and Buddy Nix and I guess Watley, the assistant GM, and I'm not sure who else got on the plane, but they were flying all over the country looking for a potential coach to take over the Bills organization, the Bills football team, and little did they know the guy they selected was only a few miles away. What's that, 100 miles from Buffalo to Syracuse, something like that? But you have to wonder whether or not the Bills have gone the cheap alternative. And when I say cheap alternative, Lovie Smith is looking for employment. Ken Whisenhunt of Arizona is looking for employment. 2 coaches in the NFL who have just been fired. They're going to bring a salary of the $4 to $5 million per. We understand Marrone is signing for $1,700,000, $1,800,000. He currently gets $1,250,000 for the Syracuse Orangemen. Not a bad salary if you're in Syracuse as well. He's, however, going to get a 1.7, 1.8 deal, rumor has it, according to ESPN Radio. Got a 4-year deal. But, you know, I've been hammering the Bills for years and years. I know Kenny's going to speak on this. The point is, in my judgment, as you look from afar and not being a fan of the Bills, you have to wonder, okay, they needed 3 executions to take place. They've taken care of 1 execution, and that, of course, Chan Gailey. Goodbye, Chan. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. The second execution has to be Buddy Nix, and why they're keeping him on the payroll, even though they're talking about this interim phase, just blows my mind. He should have been given his pink form the other day when they gave it to Gailey. But he's still with the organization. However, they're saying it's only going to be a matter of a few months before they bid farewell to him and give his job to his assistant, Nick Watley. The other gentleman, of course, that should be executed as well is the starting quarterback. We all know now, even if you're a fan or a non-fan, you have to realize he's not your answer to bring you to the promised land. He is not a guy that you can put the franchise in their capable hands, and you have to wonder, the Bills have blown so much money on bringing a Mark Anderson into town at about $13-14 million. They paid $100 million for Mario Williams. Is he a good player? Yes. Is he worth $100 million? Not. But they already give that money. Then they give $30 million more last offseason to Ryan Fitzpatrick. They must have their heads examined. Totally blows you away. So in my judgment, not being a fan, you have to wonder, when does Buddy Nix go? And will Marrone now get rid of Fitzpatrick or put him on the bench and hopefully draft somebody that they can start their resurrection with? It'll be very interesting to see, and I'm sure Kenny will have a few words to say about this move in a few seconds. By the way, let's switch from the world of the Buffalo Bills and the Syracuse Orangemen. The Orangemen, of course, and one thing I must say before I go off that topic on Syracuse, I've never been a big fan of Darryl Gross. I was turned off when he came from Southern Cal 7, 8, 10 years ago, whenever that was. Kenny can tell me exactly the year he was right. I'm going to say 7 or 8 years. He spoke about Syracuse being just like USC, battling for national collegiate football titles. You don't come to town in Syracuse, New York, and make stupid statements. You just let the team unravel, see where you are with your program. Syracuse University under Marrone was okay. They're not a major college football power. You want stats? Marrone was 25 up, 25 down. You want another stat? Marrone was 11 wins in Big East, 17 losses. So he did not have a resume like a Les Miles, Urban Meyer. Tonight you're going to see Nick Saban. Even Brian Kelly's had some good runs. The point being is you got to say Marrone probably is making the right decision. They're losing a lot of kids during graduation because of graduation. They're going to have to reload, and we'll have to see what the new coach does at Syracuse. But Buffalo needs to make some changes, and we'll have to wait and see when that takes place and if it takes place. But switching subjects to the world of golf, the Maui tournament, the Tournament of Champions, sponsored by Hyundai. You talk about bad PR. You could not possibly, the last 3 days, if you tried to watch any of that coverage on golf on the Golf Channel, you could not watch, and Jim Centercopi's good in creating graphics and ads. One of the worst commercials was showing the Kapalua at Maui, Hawaii. 50-mile-an-hour gust, driving rain, most miserable conditions you can imagine. And I'm thinking of all these young couples that may want to go to Maui and get married. Not. They probably canceled their reservations when they saw the weather the last 3 days. And I got to share this from Tommy Gainey, who used to work at A.O. Smith Corporation, a company that I was very familiar with when I worked at Gould's for almost 44 years. Tommy Gainey's a Southern guy. He won the McLadley tournament. He's in the Tournament of Champions because he won. Only winners can play in this event. They were interviewing Tommy Gainey after yet another delay over the weekend, and Gainey said after he won the McLadley, all of his friends and his neighbors and his family said, "Hey, you're going to Paradise in January. Tournament winners only. You're going to Maui. You're going to play in the Tournament of Championships at Maui." Yep. And Tommy Gainey looked at the microphone and in the camera and said, "Ladies and gentlemen, this is no paradise." So that's a bad PR as well. So my point is, you can choreograph anything you want. And I know Jim gets a kick out of this with commercials. They're going to get $4 million in a few weeks for a 30-second spot in the Super Bowl. And Maui did more to harm their travel tourism this past weekend because of the miserable weather. But again, Mother Nature talks, and all we do is listen. Well, I was sad to see the NHL has finally come to a deal. I have been of the opinion they should have locked those owners out and kept the players off the ice forever, because in my judgment, the NHL owners have taken advantage of the players for too many years. Now they have a tentative deal they're going to vote on in the next couple of days, and there will be hockey. And I just hope, I haven't seen the final deal, I hope that the players got more than the owners, because in my judgment, the National Hockey League has been very unfair with the disbursement of funds, taking most of it for the greedy owners and throwing it in their back pockets and screwing the players over. Well, I hope you had a good time watching some football. This is a great time of the year. We got playoff action leading up to Super Bowl, which will be played in New Orleans coming up on February the 3rd. What are you going to talk about? Well, what are you going to say? Houston finally wins a big one. Thought they were going to blow it against Cincinnati. They hung on to win. And I'll tell you, that Webb guy for the Vikings, God, he was god-awful. Oh, my Lord, he was god-awful. I felt bad. Ponder couldn't play. And that Webb was just like a grammar school player. He threw some pop-up passes. I mean, I can't imagine how they weren't intercepted. They had zero chance with him at the helm, and that's too sad. The Vikings are eliminated. The Packers move on. And, of course, Baltimore finally looks impressive. And, of course, they knocked off the young upstart Andrew Luck and the Indianapolis team. And Washington, my God, before you had a chance to turn over your toasted cheese as you were grilling it, it was 14-0 Skins at home. You thought they were going to blow Seattle out. Wrong. Seattle comes back, scores 24 unanswered. RG3 gets hurt. We don't know the condition of his leg or so, but he is in trouble. He's a young kid. He's a phenomenal superstar, but he runs a lot. And when you run a lot in the NFL and you're not a very big guy, you're only asking for INJURY, injury, baby. And that's what's going to happen as long as that kid can play. He's got a great scheme. He throws the ball well. But when you start running and you're looking at 290, 310-pound linebackers who are almost as fast as you are, that spells trouble. And they got to figure out how to handle that kid in future years. So what do we got? We're lining it up for next weekend. Houston goes to New England. I give Houston zero opportunity to win against the New England club. New England is ready. Brady is playing phenomenal football. I think Houston's just making the trip for air miles. Green Bay travels to San Fran. I don't know about San Fran. Everybody says it's their year. I'm not so sure. I like Rodgers. I think Green Bay will win that game. Of course, Seattle, I love them. I think they're the darling of the NFL. A lot of people can't stand Pete Carroll. Give him credit. He's got that team playing superb. And, of course, we all know the quarterback, Wilson, is playing outstanding. I love Seattle to beat Atlanta. And, of course, Baltimore goes and takes on the aging Peyton Manning. And I look for Peyton Manning to advance, knocking off the Ravens, sending Ray Rice to retirement once and for all. And, by the way, I know Kenny's going to come on and talk about a few topics in a few minutes. A little stat for you. I don't know if you knew this. I know the USC Trojan fans, there's a few in the area. They like to talk proud about their Trojans. I don't know if the Trojan fans are going to come up to Kenny or myself and remind us of a stat that I didn't know about until just the other day. USC is the first time, folks, in 49 years to be ranked number one in preseason poll action. Ranked number one, as we all know, and to end the season unranked. That's the first time in 49 years. Last time it happened, 1964. You want to know the team? The Rebels of Mississippi. So that's not something that the USC folks and fans in the Finger Lakes want to bring up to your attention. And, of course, tonight, finally, Ken and myself and Jimmy have been waiting and waiting and waiting. It seems like 5 months. It's only been 5 or 6 weeks. Let's get it on. The National Championship game, ESPN tonight, 8:30 broadcast time. A little nervous. I kind of like to pull for the Irish, but I see the odds makers went from 9.5 to 10 today. They jumped it up a half a point. So if you're betting in Las Vegas or betting through your bookie, you got to give 10 to the Notre Dame Irish. And speaking of weird things, when's the last time you can tell me, and I'd love to have you tell us, the last time a number one team in the country was getting 10 points in the National Showdown? That's what's going to happen in a couple of hours from now. This is Weber on Sports. It is our first show of 2013. Glad to have you alongside. Longtime friend Kenny Haas, longtime friend of his family. We're going to take a commercial break, hear from our great sponsors who make this show possible. And when we come back, Kenny will have a few opinions on the Bills, on the Orange, and a few other topics as well. Stay with us. Welcome back, everybody. It's a Dog in the Kennel here on a Monday night, the January 7, 2013, our first show of the new year. And we want to thank all the viewers that tune in every week. We want you to pass it on to your neighbors and your friends and all those kinds of enemies to join the Weber on Sports show. But a show that's been on the air here at FingerLakes1.com much longer than I've been on, since I've only been with Jim for about a year, is longtime friend Kenny Haas. First off, Kenny, welcome to Weber on Sports. I'm glad you could make our show once you finally got here for the show. So thanks for coming in.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
Well, I got to tell Kenny, there's a long history between myself and the Haas family. Kenny's dad, his mom, his sister, they all were very instrumental in helping out the Weber Invitational Golf Tournament for Camp Onsiawa, which was held at the Seneca Falls Country Club and at Silver Creek for many, many years. Your dad was grilling hamburgers and hot dogs, and everybody was helping out a tremendous amount of work. And I never forgot it, and I appreciated all the help from your family. So it's good to have you with us, Kenny. And I know you do a very good show, and let's give our viewers an idea, not that they don't follow your show, but how long have you been doing the show for? How many years?
I've been doing this show for about 4.5, 5 years now.
Well, you always put the point down, and I know that the shocking news of Marrone, you must have mixed views on that hire. What do you think about it? Do you think it's a good move, bad move? What do you think about Marrone?
Oh, I mean, I tell you, I'm very uneasy about it because, yes, he does have the credentials, formerly being New Orleans' offensive coordinator. And I mean, yeah, he turned Syracuse around when they were a moribund team.
Yeah.
I mean, they were only 10 wins in 4 years that Greg Gagme Robinson was the coach. But I mean,
Yeah, right.
this just reeks of being cheap in that.
Yep.
But I mean, I think maybe Brandon or Whaley there for the Bills kind of knows something.
Yeah,
But I mean, I kind of think, maybe it might be a good move. I don't know.
Well, the beauty of it is, you follow it much closer than I do, day in and day out. You speak on the Bills and you follow the Orange very closely, both basketball and football. But I was thinking about it driving in from Geneva. I worked at the Thruway today, and I was driving in thinking about this move. And there's a couple of thoughts that I had, and maybe you agree with me, is if Marrone goes 8-8 in 2013, they'll have a parade for him. It'll be the first non-losing record in 8 years.
Oh, maybe they might have a little motorcade down I-190, It might be a nice little thing coming from the old toll booth there on 90 down into downtown, Hey, he saved our franchise. Hey, not.
But, it's amazing. His mark to become literally a hero in Buffalo will be an 8-8 record, because think about it. They have not had a winning season in 8 years. They've not made a playoff. It's well documented throughout the country, 13 years and counting. And by the way, if you're looking at number 14, who happens to wear that number? Yeah. Ryan Fitzpatrick. Let's hope he's not at the helm. But you're sort of shocked. I guess people are still numb. I know Jimmy Senecropi wasn't excited because when Marrone got hired, he's a Marrone guy, so is Rod Verke. Marrone made the mistake in his news conference to say that this was his dream job at SU, and he's found. And I'm hearing rumors he's going to get another $500,000-$600,000 a year, which, by the way, I'm not sneezing at. But Kenny, I guess time will tell.
Well, I mean, we'll see. I mean, it's just kind of chunk change, an extra $500,000. You know. Heck, I mean, they'd say to me, "Here's another $500,000." Oh, okay. What do I have to do? Who do I have to murder?
Yeah, right. I know. You're right. The salaries are unbelievable.
Right.
It's unbelievable.
Ouch.
It's unbelievable that Nick Saban is knocking down $5 to $6 million a year. Of course, he's got a couple of national championships.
Yes.
What could be his third one tonight? I mean, this guy. Let's get your opinion on this game tonight. Then we'll switch off the Buffalo Syracuse for now. Notre Dame, Alabama, the Irish, a 10-point underdog, number one team in the country. What's your gut feeling?
I'll tell you what. I mean, I'm with you with what you said, because to tell you the truth, I mean, I've liked the Fighting Irish for a long time doing it. Brian Kelly has done an awesome job.
Yep.
I'd love to see the Fighting Irish win, but my gut tells me Alabama and Nick Saban just has too much speed.
I think you're right.
I mean, it could be a 7th consecutive national title for the SEC. So,
wow, it's amazing.
Yeah.
I think you're right. And anytime the odds makers in Las Vegas move a line from 9.5, where it's been for the last 2.5 weeks, to another half a point today, ironically, the day of the game, that means a lot of Alabama money is coming in, some of that late cash. And that worries me when a line goes up the day of the game, because somebody knows something that maybe you and me and Jim don't know. So I guess if I had to bet tonight, I would take the points. But I'm not betting. I'm just going to go home, have a couple of Coors Lights, have a bowl of chili. Mary's got some chili for us tonight. And that'll be something I'll be looking forward to in about an hour and a half. So, but let's get back on the Orangemen. I would be remiss if I didn't ask you. You're a big Boeheim follower. I know that he's had an outstanding career, and I'm not dismissing the 900 or whatever it is now, 904, 905. I lose track of it.
903.
903. But I guess, and he's a multimillionaire, and, he's from the same town that I was born in, Lyons, New York. And you got to say, do you have a problem with the number of wins that he's recorded? Because, as you know, a lot of people are criticizing, including myself, about the fact a lot of those wins that you, me, Jimmy, could throw a basketball up in the air and say, go play, you'd get them. And most people are estimating that would be 350 or 400 of the 900. Does that bother you with some of the – you remember the Dick Vitale, Cupcake City, Jimmy?
Right.
Does that bother you at all with the 903, knowing that 350 of them anybody could have won?
I mean, any college program's probably going to fill their cupboard with cupcakes.
Sure.
Hostess preferably.
Right.
But, I mean, that's gonna happen wherever you go, wherever
right.
Even John Calapuke.
Yep.
He fills his cupboard full of cupcakes.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter how he got them.
That's true.
He's just 37 years at one place. He had opportunities to go anywhere else. He just stuck right with his alma mater, and I admire a guy like that. And to me, he's one of the greatest I've ever watched.
Yeah. Well, you got to give the guy his due. And Boeheim has certainly made himself a walking legend. And, of course, back on the Marrone, if you just joined us, this is Weber on Sports. I'm, of course, H. Weber. This is Kenny Haas. He's joining us tonight, our special guest for the opening show of 2013. I've tried to get him on before, but because our schedules have been mixed up, we haven't been able to pull it off, so it's good to have him here tonight on our opening show of the new year. We're going to do this, by the way. We're going to have quite a few guests in here, sometimes based on when I do the show. Jim and myself have talked about this. We would like to get some athletes on. We understand if I do the show at the regular time, 9:30 on Monday mornings, it's tough. They're in school. We want them to get smart and get a college degree and move out and get some money and pay our Social Security, mine included. But the point is, it's hard to get kids in here live during the show format. We're going to try to get some phone interviews, and that's the game plan as we move forward in 2013. We probably won't have a guest every week, but we're going to try to get guests lined up. And by the way, I'm plugging the fact that if you have something you want to talk about that has nothing to do with the world of sports, please let us know. We'll have you in here. We'll have you sitting where Kenny is. Tell us about what you're involved in. Maybe it's a charity. Maybe it's a big race of some sort, or anything that conjures up your mind that you would like some PR. We would definitely be interested in. You can email Jim here at fingerlikes1.com. He knows our schedule pretty well. We could set it up with you. We could do a phone interview. We could have you live in our studio based on what your availability is. So, again, I want to remind our viewers, we urge you to take advantage of the opportunity to come on and be a part of the show. Yeah, we do a sports show, but we also can talk about other things that absolutely have nothing to do with the world of sports, as long as it helps the community and gets the word out. So, Kenny, you got the Bills on your mind. You got the Syracuse Orange football team. And if you had to put it in a nutshell, if you were Doug Marrone, would you have taken the offer? No doubt about it.
Oh.
Tough one.
Very tough one, to tell you the truth. With my quarterback graduating, with my top two wide receivers graduating, I think I might have remained another couple of years to kind of guide whoever's going to be under center and whoever's going to be lining up on the ends of the field.
Right.
Try to guide them a little bit, get it going. Maybe a couple of years down the road I might have thought about it, but I think he's left Syracuse right now in a pretty good predicament, especially them going to the ACC.
Right.
And, it's undecided who's going to be under center, and Alec Lemon and Marcus Sales were two great wideouts. And who's going to replace them?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Jared West, maybe Jeremiah Cabina, maybe who's coming in this fall. But, my answer, I would have remained a couple of more years.
Interesting to say. That's your opinions from Kenny Haas. And by the way, Kenny's Two Pennies is a weekly podcast here on fingerlikes1.com. And, of course, that show is aired on Wednesdays. Kenny, your show?
Does
it kind of move around?
It's kind of sometimes, but it's mostly on Tuesdays.
All right, Tuesdays. So we certainly asked our viewers to check out with Kenny's Two Pennies. I am certainly watching it most every week if my schedule allows. And Kenny tells it the way it is. You like it or you don't like it. He's not going to hold back on his opinions, especially when the Bills lose and the Syracuse Orange lose in the same weekend. Those shows are must-see because he lambastes them pretty hard. Kenny, thanks a lot for joining us tonight, and we certainly appreciate you taking time out to come in.
No problem. My pleasure.
All right, we want to remind everybody, we got a couple of big things to point out to you. We've got a big fundraiser up in Waterloo. Our good friend Crystal Jensen, who was a part of this show several months ago. The Waterloo Softball Boosters are holding a ZD dinner coming up this Saturday, January 12th, at the Waterloo Firehouse from 4 to 8 o'clock. Tickets are only $10, which includes a sit-down, or you could take out dinner with Zita, salad, bread, baked goods, and a drink. Crystal Jensen, Waterloo High School, reading Lady Indians varsity softball and volleyball coach. She does it all. She does a marvelous job of those programs, and she's a nice young lady to boot. So once again, the Waterloo Softball Boosters are holding a ziti dinner this coming Saturday, January the 12th, at the Waterloo Firehouse, 4 to 8, $10 is the toss, and it's to a good cause and to a great bunch of athletes. And we send out our best and wish Crystal and the ladies and everybody connected with that fundraiser the very best of luck. Well, FingerLakes1.com Sports is not only Kenny's Two Pennies and Weber on Sports, it's an array of other events. We've been a lot of different places. We've covered golf on Finger Lakes One. We've done it all. And now we're in the midst of continuing our basketball coverage. Our broadcast teams have taken, obviously, the holidays off, and it's ready to rev up the engines again. Jimmy, of course, the owner, director, producer of these telecasts and webcasts and podcasts, whatever you call them. We got a busy week. Jim's going to be going crazy, be pulling out his hair. He'll probably be Yul Brenner by Friday night. But coming up on Tuesday night, tomorrow night, Geneva. How good are they? Undefeated, just rolling along, led by all-stater Shane Sweeney. Geneva travels to take on a place where I used to go to a lot, covering some big games, Newark Reds. Newark is not as powerful as they once were. There were years where Newark never lost a game, but Geneva will have to be careful, as Newark will be probably with a raucous crowd in that great city and that great place for great basketball. That's Tuesday night. Tomorrow night, airtime on FingerLakes1.com around 7:30. The broadcast team will be Brendan Harrington and, of course, the legendary Matt Verkey. Of course, FingerLakes1.com Sports doesn't finish there. On Friday night, the crew will go up to take on, Newark will come into town to take on Miners Academy. So we'll see Newark twice this week. Newark will be the visiting team against the Blue Devils, who've had not a undefeated season as a lot of people thought they might. They're going to lose some games. They've lost a few, but not to worry. They still got a very good ball club. Of course, Passalaqua, you've got the likes of Jimmy Rickey, who was hotter than a hornet the other night from threes. That game will be Friday night, January the 11th. David Barnick with the call, along with Kevin Korzeniewski. And that should be a lot of fun. Again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining Weber on Sports, our debut edition for 2013. And again, thanks to my friend Kenny Haas for joining us. Check out Kenny's Two Pennies during the course of the week, every week here on FingerLakes1.com. Take care, everybody. The big news, Doogie's going to boogie to Buffalo. Was that a great decision? We'll check you out in 12 months and let you know. Take care, everybody. That's a look at sports my way.